Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to Creative for More, the podcast. As usual, I am your host, Tomba Swagu, and today I am excited, as usual. I've got a great guest whom we'll be speaking to together jointly, and her name is Abigail Barnes, and she's the founder of Success by Design Training, which is an award-winning entrepreneur. She's an award-winning entrepreneur. She's a two-time author. She's an international speaker and corporate trainer on productivity, high-performing teams, and well-being. And she's the qualified coach and creator of the renowned 888 formula. And if you're wondering what is the 888 formula, don't worry. It's a life-changing concept that you're about to discover. So, Abigail, I'm super excited to have you here in the show with me today. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be here and I can't wait to create for more.
Yay! I love it. I love it. I love it. Where I'd like to start this conversation, Abigail, is just we always like to kind of get into our guests and try and understand them a little bit before we even get into the topic of discussion. So I want to know, in your own words, can you tell us who you are, beyond the script that I've just read there, which was just kind of like a micro snippet of yourself? I want to hear in your own words who you are. And then also if you could share with us, who you were as a child. Like I'd like to get into your personality a little bit. Like who were you as a child, and how have you transitioned into the person that we see here today?
Oh my goodness, what an amazing question. So who I am and who I was sort of as a child, I think I can say is probably the same person that has been evolving. So as a child, I was curious. Like I was the most curious person in the class that you could ever imagine. If the teacher told us not to do something, I did it. Because I just wanted to know why. I was just very, very curious. And it wasn't that I was naughty. It's just that I had to understand what it was that we weren't supposed to be seeing, what it was that we weren't supposed to be doing, what it was that would happen. And I think that how this has really played out in who I am today is that it means, in the entrepreneurial world, we have to try things and we have to try new things, even though the people around us are saying, oh, don't do that, it won't work, it's too hard, it will never work for you. So I think that for me, that personality of curiosity has really played out. And then who I am as a human now is I'm just so curious about things, but also about people. So I will always ask, what is it you do? What makes you happy? Why do you do that? Why do you enjoy that? What is it about that thing? Like, not as a nosy, inquisitive kind of coaching, but just genuinely interested in every single person that I meet. Like, how did you come here? How did you come to do this? What phase of your life are you in right now? How is what you're doing contributing to your longer term plans? Because everybody is at some stage of their life doing something, and it's all part of the process.
It is, isn't it? I love it. I love it. And what's interesting for me is, your line of work. It is one of those things that when you kind of get exposure to it, and you kind of discover it, you kind of understand it, you realize how important it is. But, and I'm talking about productivity specifically, but without that kind of exposure, we often don't really think about it, right? You don't really think about productivity as a theme and as a possible reason for areas of your life not progressing as perhaps it could be progressing. So how did you even get into it? What was there a realization at some point for you that, wow, this is very important and this is something that I need to focus on?
Yeah, there's a short version of the story and a longer version of the story. So if I give some like bullet points along the way, and then maybe we can deep dive into some of the bits. So as I said to you, as a child, I was always curious. So I would ask a lot of questions at the dinner table. I would just like, but why this? What does this mean? What is that? And my dad indulged that, and he told sort of every single day what was going on for him, for work, the projects that he was involved in, and why they were doing the things. And so he worked in an area that in those days was called time and motion studies. So basically they used to watch people to see how long it took to do a thing, then create a process for it. Because sort of 20, 30, 40 years ago, things were much more manual, where now we have so much more technology to help us. But in the time when he was working, it was much more like, if I move this from here to here, is this the most efficient way to do it? So efficiency and productivity and how to make the most of your time was very much in my consciousness. And it's kind of a masculine approach to things, but I took it on board and processed it through me as intuitively what then made sense. So I would go around and look at other people's processes and say, oh, my way is better than yours. I could just naturally see what made more sense. So although something logically could be improved, I would say, yeah, but logically, that's not the way this type of human would do it. So what about this? So then next sort of bullet point, I guess, would be university. I studied business and marketing. So a lot of that was why people do what they do, why people buy what they buy, team building, leadership, all sorts of things, because it was sort of a real holistic degree, and I absolutely loved it because I got to ask why an awful lot, and I got to learn an awful lot of stuff. And then, as happens, I left that academic world, entered the career world, and carried on asking why, and got told to stop. And that was when I sort of had a bit of a realization, like I was really good at what I did, but I didn't enjoy not being able to ask, but why are we doing it like this? What about if we did it like this? How about this? It was very much a world of, no, there is the way, this is the way.
And just roll with it.
The right or the authority to sort of change it. So I think for me, maybe my personality type, there's only so many times I can hear the word no before I just get really sort of disheartened with it will never work. I'm like, well, show me it fail, and then I'll know it doesn't. Or show me like that we have tried it. So then I go on to sort of progress in my career, always trying to look to find what would make me feel complete and happy and like I was living my life purpose. And then in February 2012, my boss sent me on a business trip to Boston in America, and that's when everything changed.
Tell us, don't leave us a cliffhanger.
So up until this point, I'd been doing what I was doing, enjoying it, but I really felt like there was a hole in my soul. I hadn't activated my purpose or my gifts, and that I wasn't doing what I really felt like I was here to do, and I wasn't doing it in a big enough way. You know, I was getting promotions, I was getting Prada, I was going to parties, I was drinking Prosecco, I was getting promoted, I was doing all those P's that everybody else was, but it wasn't my purpose, it wasn't filling me up. I didn't feel like I was getting out of bed every morning and going, yes. I was kind of getting out of bed every morning and going, oh, another day.
Dreading it.
Another day.
Which is often the case for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah. And so like I now share my story and in this detail because I understand that it isn't that I was on my own, but at the time I felt like I was the only one going through this. Honestly, I felt like everybody else had got it and that I was just the only one in this kind of Groundhog Day, sinking sand, and I just couldn't get myself out. And so there was sort of the whole I just felt like everybody else was, and either that or they were good at faking it.
Uh-huh.
And I just didn't have a poker face. So the boss says, we're going to send you to America on this business trip. We're going to fly you business class, and you'll get to meet the colleagues and work on this project. And I was so excited. I thought, like, this is it. This traveling internationally is going to be my purpose, that meeting people and building teams and doing projects is what I'm here to do. So I arrive, my friend picks me up from the airport, takes me to her parents' house in Boston. We have dinner, go to bed on the Friday night. On the Saturday, I wake up with a headache. Mm-hmm. Now, I thought that the headache was because I'd drunk quite a lot of champagne on the plane and had wine with dinner, and also probably jet lag and tiredness, etc., etc. However, the headache just got worse and worse, and then all these sort of odd symptoms started coming over me, like black and white lights flashing. I felt really hot, really cold. I asked my friend if she had a dustbin because I needed to be sick. Now I'm in her parents' guest bedroom, throwing up in a dustbin.
Oh my gosh.
And all I could think in my head was, oh no, this is terrible. What are her parents going to think? Her mum walks past the bedroom door, looks in and sees her guest doing this. Mm-hmm. But what she thought was, there's something wrong, I'm going to call an ambulance. What I was thinking in my head was, I'm a terrible house guest and this is really, really awful. But luckily, she had the foresight to realise there was something more. Anyway, fast forward 24 hours later, I'm in the hospital, I've been tested, I've been put in the MRI machine, and a doctor comes and wakes me up and says, we've got the results of your test. And I was like, okay. And he said, so, madam, I need to tell you that you had a stroke.
Oh, wow. How old were you at the time?
So I was 32.
Oh, wow.
So the first thing I said to this doctor was, can I go to work on Monday?
No way.
It was Sunday now, and all I could think in my head was, I haven't died, I've caused a drama, my boss is going to kill me. Like,
that was what was in your mind.
In my head, it was just, I am here for the meeting, I must be a good girl. The narrative that you know, some of us are raised with is, don't cause a drama, don't be a problem, be a good girl, get your work done. And all I could think was, oh no, oh no. The doctor then said, you didn't die. But we don't know.
Did you just hear me? Did you just hear me?
We don't know why. And then I was like, what?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah. So where am I going now then? And he said, so you're going to intensive care. We need to work out, do some tests and work out why this happened so we can make sure it doesn't happen again. To which I was then like, oh yeah, please, can it not happen again? Because it was the worst pain in the world. And also it was the most scary yet transformational process looking back. But in those moments, like, it was very much a time when I thought that maybe I might die and that what was going on. And I heard a voice, and the voice said, we're not ready for you yet. So then after this, the whole process was, what has happened medically, what has happened, but spiritually, what has happened. And then to answer sort of your question, really around the whole idea of productivity, was that I took away from that, I hadn't been using my time. I'd been going through life and things took time, but I'd had no conscious awareness of time and how I was using it and what I was allocating it to, and what I wanted from my time, and then how to make the most of it, aka be more productive with that time.
Wow. Like, that is, I suppose looking back now, you probably feel, as I sense, that had to happen for you to be doing what you're doing now. So, you know, that was generally God's way of redirecting your path so that you could save more people, right?
If you're not listening, you will be redirected. And the first few ways are gentle nudges, maybe a feather, maybe lessons of other people, maybe people around you have passed on, maybe things didn't work out for them, etc., etc. And this is what I believe. So I mean, just to put this in a box, other people might have a different belief, but you know, you believe whatever you want to believe. And so I just hadn't been listening, but I had been asking. And that's the thing. When I look back now, there were things that I was saying, like, I hate my life. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to get out of this situation. I've tried everything else. All of the mental narrative that most of the time we don't notice we're running like a tape. To kind of talk a little bit more spiritually, like we're manifesting, if you want, or we're creating the reality that we have right now through the things that we're saying.
Through the things that we're saying, negatively or positively.
Negatively or positively, because the universe, God, whoever, they know no different. They just hear what you're saying and go, okay, okay. Okay, imagine it is like you were going to Amazon and you were saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. Oh, I don't want this. They're like, oh, you want this? No, I said I don't want this. Oh, you want this? No, I really, really don't want this. Oh, you want? And we have to put the phone down. We have to get to a place of where we stop asking for what we don't want and we become consciously aware of what we do want. And if we don't know what that is, because maybe your audience doesn't know, and I didn't really clearly know, then we ask for guidance. We ask for people, we ask for teachers, we ask for books, we ask for courses, we ask for training, we ask for coaches, we ask for help, we ask for proof of what's possible, that there is another way.
I want to, before we even go into talk about what you've discovered since, you talked about, that there are signs. Sometimes it's as light as a feather, and sometimes it's a bit more, show-stopping, like you had. From a health perspective, what are some telltale signs that you got that perhaps others might resonate with, that people, can perhaps be a little bit more aware of, as a sign to say, look, you're hitting that point where things become completely unsustainable?
So I understand the question, and I'm going to answer it in a slightly different way, because obviously everybody's health is different. So for me, there were signs like I would have headaches. I had what's known as a TIA, which is a mini stroke. I had it the week before I went away. I just thought it was like a migraine or something, and I went to bed. And people do actually die from them. And I share that because I was just so disconnected from my body. Like my body was almost an inconvenience. It had to sleep. It slowed me down. It needed to have food. That was inconvenient. It needed to go to the bathroom. That was inconvenient. Like in my head, I'd almost got into a place of doing. Like I was so much almost a machine. But while I was doing, I wasn't feeling. I wasn't worrying, I wasn't thinking, I wasn't questioning. I was in a zone of, well, it was like being in a hamster wheel. And if I looked left or I looked right, everybody else was doing the same. So I had no reference points of what was possible of other ways. And this is one of the interesting things, is if you're living in a bubble or an ecosystem or a jar, if you like, everybody in that place, they believe the same things, they think the same things, they know about the same possibility, which is why having that curiosity to keep exploring. And so I had it as the child, I have it now. But in that entering the career world and hearing those so many no's, it just got silenced. So by the time, I almost see in some ways, like metaphorically, the stroke was my brain exploding. It was my brain literally saying, enough, I can't hold it in anymore. I can't keep pretending to be somebody that I'm not. I can't keep being busy and ignore the fact that I want to feel. But 10 years ago, feelings were weakness. Emotions were not something we talked about. Depression, anxiety, all of these things that are now in the vernacular all day, every day. Even the internet, it wasn't really what it was. Like, you couldn't Google, you couldn't go to YouTube and find a meditation. Meditation was weird. So for anybody who is sort of starting to become aware, and that is the entry point, is awareness that there must be another way. I would say your job is to stay in that belief versus dampen that belief, and just to become curious and find proof that there is another way, because there is another way.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about what you did next then. You know, what has led you to the 888 formula. What did you do next immediately in the aftermath of that diagnosis?
When I came back, flew back from America to London, the first thing I did was I went to bed. So anybody who's had a brain injury will know that you're very, very tired, and part of the recovery is that your brain needs to sleep, to rest, to recover. And I was maybe sleeping sort of 18, 19 hours a day. And as my brain was starting to repair itself, I was then going through a process of, well, what's happened? What do I want to do next? I don't know what's happened. What do I want to do next? And I sort of got myself into this loop of, something's happened, but I look fine. So did I make it up? What's happened? And I walked away from that stroke with no physical disabilities. And the percentage of people that do that is very, very small. And it was only maybe 6 months after that when I was talking to a psychologist who said, if you'd broken your arm, you'd be able to visibly see yourself healing. But because it's your brain and you can't see it, your brain can't compute that something's happened. So it discounts that something's happened. So the early days, a lot of the journey was really understanding the psychology of the brain and understanding myself, and dealing with something that I hadn't quite expected, but makes so much sense now, was that I had survivor guilt. So I couldn't go to any meetings. So I felt like I was alone in all of it. I didn't know anybody who'd had a near-death experience. I didn't know anybody who'd survived a stroke and not had disability. And I definitely couldn't go to a meeting, because if I did, what if they didn't accept me? So I just felt really like I didn't fit in anywhere.
That's interesting, survivor's guilt.
And so from that, then I just sort of went down a spiral of like blame and shame and guilt, and I just couldn't get myself out. And then one day I picked up my laptop and I think I Googled motivational training because I thought, you know what, I need to be motivated to get out of bed. And I came across Tony Robbins and I listened to his stuff over and over and over again. And it really helped to rewire my brain to get back to a possibility that there could be another way of seeing things. Because I'd got myself into a place that there was no other way of seeing things, that I just... And from that then, I saw that he was doing an event in London. I bought a ticket, I went along to the event. He came onto the stage, striding onto the stage. And for anybody who's ever seen him on video or been to any of his events in person, his energy is gigantic. And I was instantly like, oh, this is too much. It's too much. And I just didn't resonate in person. So I was very, very grateful that he had done the job of getting me out of my bed and into the world again. And then someone else came onto the stage and they started talking about public speaking. And that got me on a journey of, I want to be a speaker. I want to talk about these things. I want to talk about it more. And I'm very much now a believer that if you keep following the breadcrumbs, even though we want to believe they look like shiny diamonds, then you will find your path. And that's all I've done over the last 10 years is I've followed a breadcrumb and another breadcrumb and another breadcrumb, and I've read another book and I've gone to another thing and I've worked with another coach and I've found another trainer and I've done, and all the time. And some of it's taken me maybe on a detour and some of it's taken me more directly. But in all of the process, what I've discovered is that I have been growing, I have been evolving, and
you have been.
What I wanted to do became more and more clear. And I'm sharing that because I don't want people to fall into the misapprehension that you have a coffee, you meditate, you get your nails done. You know, like life isn't an Instagram reel.
It's not. I saw this Instagram post that I really liked, and it was showed this circle. You know, if you look at like a circle from the top, it just looks like a circle. It was talking about, you know, it might look like you're just kind of going around in circles, but what it is, and they had another view, and what it was a spring. So imagine just kind of going around the spring and you're going up, but it's looking like a circle, but you're going up ultimately. And it was so revealing, because for a lot of us, really, that's what it looks like. That's what progress looks like. It looks like you're in the same spot. Like you say, you're following these breadcrumbs, but you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, making progress every single day. And you are, you know, edging forward closer and closer to where you're ultimately created to be. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for just giving us that, you know, very, very insightful background. So what is the 888 formula, and you know, how did you discover it? And then what does it do for us essentially?
So this 888 formula then is the simplest way to divide your 24-hour day based on science and society. So science is saying that we need to sleep. So the average person sleeps between 7 to 9 hours a day or a night. So let's call that 8. And then society is saying that we need to work for 8 hours. So what is left is your life. And it's sort of apportioning your life in a very, very simple way for you to immediately spot where you are out of balance or where you are not feeling or achieving what it is that you want. The average person needs 7.5 hours sleep, so you have half an hour back there. We call that one rest. So each pillar, so one is rest, one is activities, one is work. We call it rest because you can also recharge your energy by meditating. So that comes under that pillar. And we call life, your life, we call it activities, because in reality, your life is broken down into all the activities. So this is looking after your family. This is looking after your home. So this is life admin. This is going to the gym. This is commuting. If you are commuting to work or to meetings or to whatever it is that you do. This is going to the shop and buying the food, cooking the food, eating the food. It's buying the clothes, wearing the clothes, washing the clothes, wearing the clothes again. It's everything. And so when we talk to people about the formula, as you're sort of saying, it's so transformational because it's a reality check. Like there's nowhere to hide. Where is all my time going?
Yeah. And how does one get into it? Because do you just start by just at least accounting for sleep. So if I'm having less than 8 hours sleep, I know already that I'm falling foul of this rule. How do you get it into your consciousness to go from something you know to something you are and something you do?
So that is a really great question, because so much in life we know, but we don't do. And your life is never going to change. Knowledge isn't power. That great quote, knowledge is power. Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is potential. Your life only changes when you do something with what you know. So if you know you need more sleep and you would benefit from that, it's about looking at your life right now and saying, what could you do less of to get more sleep? And obviously we're all at different stages and phases of our lives. Sometimes if you have a young family, you're not maybe going to get the sleep you want. If you start a new job, if it's the month end, if you've moved to a new place, there's many, many reasons why you're not just going to have the time in that short term. But it's about recognizing and understanding how you feel when you do, and doing whatever it takes to get more. Because an extra 15 minutes, an extra 30 minutes can make all the difference. We sleep in 90-minute cycles. So when we're going to sleep, we are going down, 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 down into sleep, and then we're going up, 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 and then we're going back down, 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 down again. And when we're going down into the deepest part of our sleep, that's when we are almost like a bear in hibernation. So if you don't really understand your sleep and your sleep cycles and the patterns, then you might be waking yourself up with an alarm from the deepest part of your sleep. So there's an app that I use now that wakes me up between one time and another time, like in a 30-minute window, so that I can make sure it's waking me up as I'm coming out of a deep sleep. I didn't know this when I was working in my corporate career. I used to have an alarm on, and some mornings I'd wake up and be really angry, because obviously if you wake a bear up while it's hibernating, it's angry. And other times I was fine, because it depended what time I'd gone to bed. So there is a sort of a science to it, but there's also an intuition to it.
Wait. Can I just stop you there? So there are set times that are better for us to wake up. Is that what you're saying? So when you're coming out of your, what is it called? The REM?
The REM sleep. So
the REM sleep. Is that the best time for you to wake up?
So we sleep in phases. And it is better for you to wake up when you've come out of the deepest part of sleep. So I talk about this in my book, because there's quite a lot to it. And, you mentioned at the start that I'd written 2 books. So the latest one is Time Management for Entrepreneurs and Professionals. So it's an 88-page book to help people to reclaim an hour a day and become more productive. And in the book, there's 8 pages about the 888 formula. And one of the sections of that is like there's 2 or 3 pages about sleep. And in it, I've referenced more sleep books where you can go into to learn more at a deeper level. So there's the very, very basics. So understanding the basics. Then there's, okay, I'm interested in this, I want to learn more. And then that becomes like a project. But fundamentally, the simplest is, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel refreshed? And if you feel refreshed, you will wake up naturally without an alarm at the time when you have had enough sleep, refreshed. If you are going to bed later and you're not refreshed, then you might need an alarm. So it all depends. So, and you have to do some investigation and analysis to work out what your optimum sleeping time is. I know if I go to bed at 10, I'll be asleep by 10:30, and then I'll wake up around 6:30, because this is about 7.5, 8 hours sleep. And sometimes I need a little bit more, 15 minutes, sometimes I need a bit less. If I go to bed at 11, at 6:30, I'm not really awake. I'm kind of then awake at 7. So if I need to get up earlier, I will need to set an alarm. And the more you can become aware of this, like there's rings people wear now that track their sleep. You can have watches that track your sleep. So I use this app on my phone, and it's called Sleep Cycle. It's free, and you can sort of put that on to track your sleep. But my big thing in all of this is become the scientist of your own life.
So good.
Investigate your health, investigate your well-being. It's up to you. You're in charge.
So good. So good. So good. Because we're all so different, aren't we? So you've got to find out what works for you, what's best for you, and how to be what optimal means for you as well. So that is so good. Thank you.
100%.
So,
and then while we're doing it with the 3 8s, we will usually start with the clients on sleep. Because if you're not getting enough sleep or enough rest, then your brain is not functioning at its optimum. So you are making decisions tired. You are making decisions without the full energy, without the full ability to think things through. You're much more emotional, and when emotion is higher, your intelligence is lower, so then you are making reactive rather than proactive decisions. So it's very, very fundamental to your health and to your well-being. And not to sort of, maybe I'm like the advocate for sleep, because I didn't used to sleep that much before in my corporate life. It was like a whole, you can sleep when you're dead. Reality is you will be dead sooner than you realize if you don't sleep. And then the other thing is that our bodies are regenerating and rejuvenating when we sleep. And so Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, which I reference in mine, is just incredible and will literally scare you into going to bed earlier. Because as you're reading it and understanding the science of what's happening when you sleep, you suddenly start to realize it's non-negotiable.
And does this count towards resting? So for people who struggle with sleep, like just lying down, closing your eyes, does that count towards the first 8?
So anything that's taking your body out of the activated energy, so where you're in fight or flight and it's getting you into that rest or digest side, then yes. So that's why we call it rest, because meditating can be the same. Obviously, breath work can create the same kind of energy in you. It's about refreshing and recharging yourself. And I know that for some people, sleep really is a challenge. So it's a journey about understanding where you're at with it, and recognizing what impacts it. So is it your diet? Is it your lifestyle? Is it the days of the week? Is it that you're saying yes to too many things and you're trying to be all things to all people, and that you need to stop giving people fish and teach people how to fish?
So good. So good. Oh my gosh, I could stay here and talk to you all day, but obviously we've got to draw to a close very soon. But as we close, I have one more question, if I may. Just around, and I heard you talk about this at the Creative for More Summit, and I thought it was so good. You were talking about auditing your time. And I think that would be really, really useful for our listeners to hear. You talked about why it's important and how to go about doing that. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. So it's step number 1 in my book. And it gives you an instant picture of what is going on in your life right now. Many people that I will meet, you will meet, will be busy. And they may be busy with good reason, but they may just be busy being busy. So when you audit your time, you will get a snapshot of what is going on, and you write down everything from the moment you wake up to the minute you go to bed. When you eat, you can even write down what you eat so that you can track how what you're eating is impacting all sorts of things. People discover perhaps that they have food intolerances to certain things, and it just doesn't help them sleep well. And it gives you knowledge, which is powerful. But as I said, it's not power, it's potential. So the knowledge gives you the potential to create change. And you identify maybe who is draining your time. You identify what is draining your time. You notice habits like perhaps it's social media scrolling, which we're all guilty of. Perhaps it's being on the phone to people and trying to help them fix their problems rather than teach them how to solve their problems themselves. And the whole idea of the audit is it's finding 15 minutes, 30 minutes every day. So if you do that for 7 days and you find 15 minutes a day, what is that over a week? What is that over 7 days? The time starts to add up. Then you multiply that by 52, and then you are into hours and hours of time, if not months. Like some people have been able to regain like a month's worth of time from doing it. So if you're one of these people, you're listening to this podcast and you perhaps have a side hustle, or you want to start a side hustle and you don't have enough time, this is how you find your time. Because you have the time. We all have enough time. We're just not spending it or using it, investing it in the things that are getting us what we want. We're investing it perhaps in watching celebrities on social media, and it's entertaining, but it's hours of our time that we're giving them that we could be giving us. We want.
Yes. I remember saying once that assignments are the currency of correct time appropriation. And I know that's a mouthful, but what I'm saying there is every hour of your day should have an assignment. You should have something, whether it's rest, it doesn't have to be a do thing. It could be, but you should literally be the one designing how you use your time, rather than just going by default and following the wind wherever it goes. You should be in charge of your time, and you should be telling your time what you want to do with it. And that's where to start, isn't it?
100%. Because bottom line, and I guess this takes us full circle back to my story, in those moments when I thought that was it, I fought with everything in me that it wouldn't be it. I begged the universe, give me another chance. I'm sorry. I didn't use my time. Please, can I have another go? Do it differently this time. And when we become aware, we don't have to have something so dramatic happen. We are just given that ability to create change, to do something differently, or not. And sometimes it might show you that how you use your time is okay, and sometimes it might show you how you use your time is a phase. Like I said, we all are in phases of our lives. We all have different things that we have to prioritize. But it helps you to identify what you're prioritizing. And I was prioritizing nothing that added value.
Yes. And guys, you've heard it there. We have to be prioritizing things that elevate us, add value to us, as opposed to things that take away. So thank you very much, Abigail. That was such a great conversation to have with you. Do you mind telling us where we can find you? Where can my listeners find you? And I remember you saying also that you had a gift for us. Feel free to share now.
So I am on LinkedIn mostly as Abigail Barnes. You can connect with me over there. I'm also on Instagram as Success by Design Training. And those are the two places I will hang out the most. We have a free chapter of my book for you, and the link will be in the show notes, so you can grab that free chapter and get started and find out if the book and auditing your time is for you.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Such a great conversation. Thank you for coming here to share your light. And I know that our people have been, blessed just by learning from you today. Thank you for coming on the show. God bless you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to hear from anybody what they took away from this conversation today. So I can't wait.
Awesome. I'm sure you will. Take care.